Welcome to Metro. This is a service to
Strayatrains.
stopping all stations.
Welcome back to Strayatrains. With maybe the channel's most popular content being the Metro announcements and me just completing at least one of each line recently on the network, with the Williamstown line being the final line, I thought it'd be a good idea to make a top 10 video of my favourite announcements across the network and on the different trains. So of course there's a range of cool announcements, such as them being interesting, such as them just sounding cool. So without further ado, I hope you enjoy the video and please let me know what your thoughts are on your favourite announcements. So the first one on this list is a pretty interesting one. It is the only time you can ever hear a Comeng or Siemens say Hurstbridge or Mernda. This happens when you're on an up, down and on group service arriving at Parliament Station.
Now arriving at Parliament. Change here for Hurstbridge and Mernda services.
Now arriving at Parliament. Change here for Hurstbridge and Mernda services.
The station we are heading to now is the second one on our list, and for a similar reason to the first station on this list, when you arrive at Richmond Station on a Burnley group service, you can actually hear Pakenham and Cranbourne from an extrapolis voice.
Now arriving at Richmond. Change here for Pakenham, Cranbourne, Frankston and Sandringham services.
Number 3 on this list is when you're on an up Sunbury service, arriving at Footscray Station, where the Siemens train will tell you to change for South Kensington services. This is, I believe, one of only 2 times on the network where a train will tell you to change for a specific station that is not a terminus station of a line.
Now arriving at Footscray. Change here for South Kensington, Werribee and Williamstown services.
Now, maybe Richmond is indeed my favourite station to arrive at regarding the announcements, but when you're on an up service from Frankston or Sandringham in the mornings and you arrive at Richmond on either a Comeng, or if you're on Frankston, Comeng or Extrapolis train, you get a slight different variation of the announcements in terms of services that you can change at Richmond for.
Now arriving at Richmond. Change here for Belgrave, Lilydale, Alamein, Glenwaverley and City Loop services.
Now arriving at Richmond. Change here for Belgrave, Lilydale, Alamein, Glenwaverley and City Circle services.
Now, there is simply no way that this couldn't make the list. This is indeed my favourite Welcome to Metro announcements on the Extrapolis train. And this is mainly because this is actually pretty much the voiceover that I use in my introduction. And you may notice that the way that I say Strayatrains in the introduction is indeed mimicking the tone that the announcer says South Morang. Take a listen.
Welcome to Metro. This is a service to South Morang, stopping all stations via the City Loop.
Next up on this list is indeed maybe one of the most unique announcements for any train on this network, and that is when the Comeng train arrives at South Yarra, and of course the same for Caulfield, where it actually says that it's running express from South Yarra to Caulfield or vice versa. I know this does happen on a North Melbourne to Essendon service on the One Express Craigieburn service in the mornings, however, I don't actually have film of that.
Now arriving at South Yarra. Change here for Sandringham service. From South Yarra, this train runs express to Caulfield.
Now, just like Richmond Station, North Melbourne Station offers a unique scenario where an Extrapolis train, when on an Flemington Racecourse service, says to change here for not 1, 2, 3, 4, but 5 different services, including all the northern groups where you don't typically hear an Extrapolis announcement.
Now arriving at North Melbourne. Change here for Upfield, Craigieburn, Sunbury, Werribee and Williamstown services.
Usually when a train is announcing now arriving at Station X, the train will just announce it. However, the one exception to this is when a Siemens train is terminating at a station, and it makes a little ding noise before saying this train is terminating at X.
This train will be terminated at Sandringham.
number 9 is indeed a little touch that I like with the Extrapolis trains. I don't think it is to pay tribute to Connex, but indeed does sound like it is. Usually when Connex trains used to announce the next station, it would literally say, instead of now arriving at, it would say, the next station is... Well, hopefully that was a good enough impression. Anyway, on an Extrapolis train, before a termination station, it will say, the next station is, before arriving at it. So, pretty cool touch. Take a listen. And I chose an interesting station for the video.
The next station is Southern Cross. This train will terminate at Southern Cross.
And number 10 is when a down Newport service terminates on an Extrapolis train. This is an interesting announcement for a couple of reasons. The first is that instead of listing just Werribee, Williamstown and Altona loop services, it actually says each 3 stations to change at Newport for, which is quite interesting. And the second reason is, and maybe the most interesting part, is that usually on the network, services are basically announced to change here for in set orders. For example, at North Melbourne, Upfield is always announced before Craigieburn, assuming you're on a Werribee, Williamstown or Sunbury service. Likewise for Newport, usually Werribee is listed before Williamstown. However, on this service, it actually lists Williamstown before Werribee, which is quite an interesting change. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and let's roll the final announcement.
Now arriving at Newport. Change here for Williamstown, Werribee, Singholm, Altona and Westona services. This train will terminate at Newport.